Hey guys. So I just had a conversation with a coworker, and I just kind of wanted to talk about what was said to me, and honestly what is said to me like every day. And basically, guys a lot come up to me. Recently I just turned 28 years old, and guys constantly come up to me and they'll like say things to me like, when are you having kids? Or why don't you have any kids yet? Or don't you think it's about time to start having kids and things like that? And I used to just kind of, give them the, what the F face or shrug it off and things like that. But lately, it's actually started to insult me just a little bit. And I'm going to give you just a little background with me. So I'm currently single. I'm not in a relationship. I broke up with someone because it was a toxic relationship, and I wanted to be by myself for a couple years. Personally, I feel, it's good to spend time by yourself and discover who you are before you get in a relationship with somebody else. And these people know that. The guys that say these things to me, they know that, so on and so forth. So when a male walks up to me and says something like, oh, why don't you have any kids? That's literally what people say to me. I get upset. I don't get upset, but I get offended. And the reason why is, for me as a female, it just feels very belittling, and it sounds condescending, and it sounds patronizing. I know that's not their direct intent, but based on the marginalization of women in society over the past thousands of years, it actually is, but it's a construct, a systemic construct that is, in our minds that's something that women are supposed to do. They're supposed to have kids. We have ovaries, we have a vagina, and we're supposed to reproduce. So what I actually started doing was, when guys say to me, why don't you have any kids, this and the third, and I look at them and I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, oh, I'm 31. I'm like, why don't you have any kids yet? And literally, my coworker, who literally says this to me maybe once or twice every few months, I said back to him today, I was like, when are you having any kids? And he looked at me like I was crazy, like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you ask me that? And I said, well, you asked me that, so I figured since you're actually older than me, when are you having kids? And he stops and he's like, that doesn't even make any sense. And I said, why doesn't that make any sense? We're both adults. We're both over the age of 25. We're both single, and we both don't have any kids. And he was like, well, maybe we should make kids together. And obviously he got off subject, and I pulled him back. And I said, no, why would you be upset for me telling you, because you're older, that, you should have some kids, but it's not a problem for you to say that to me? And he was like, well, I'm a guy. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about. So basically, this is how I feel about, and this is what I told him, this is what I feel about kids. Oh, hold on, let me turn my stove off. Just making some pizza. Sorry about that. So this is what I basically told him. I said, why do you think it is that I should have kids? And he's like, well, the time is ticking and you're getting older, and, you probably won't be able to have kids a lot later. And I was like, actually, the cutoff age that women are usually told they shouldn't try after is 38, but go on. And he was like, but why don't you want kids right now? He's like, do you want kids at all? I was like, it's not that I don't want children at all. Like, really, the thing is this. I'm not in a relationship. I'm not married. I don't have what I would consider to be the career of choice. I make good money, but I'm not doing what it is that I want to die doing, what I want to retire doing. I don't have my PhD, which is what I want. And he was like, well, that's asking for a lot. And I was like, not really. Because to me, and this doesn't hold true for everybody, this is just my opinion, there are certain things that I want to have before I have children. And I told him I want to give my kids something that they deserve. And I said, I'm not one of those people. A lot of women, I feel, They want to have kids so bad because they're lonely, or they want to feel purpose, or they want to have meaning in life. They want to feel driven. They want to have a reason to get up and go to a job that they don't like every day and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to me personally, that is not my mentality. That is not my level of what I would call spirituality with myself. You know, in my spirit, I feel that and every human being has a purpose, and I feel that every human being has something that they should fulfill. And I don't necessarily think that everybody's fulfillment is supposed to be having a child and raising them. Because in 18 years, guess what? They leave and they go off and they do their own thing, and you just wasted 18 years of your life. And for what? Oh, and people are like, oh, I would never trade anything for raising my kids. Of course you wouldn't, because they gave you purpose. They made you feel fulfilled. But guess what? I feel that every human being should be going out and doing something and trying to make a difference in the world, regardless of whether they have children or not. So I feel that when people approach me, or women like me, and they say, why don't you have kids, and this and that and third, I don't want to have a child until I have something to give to that child. If I can give them inheritance, if I have property, if I have investments, if I have a business, if I have something that my namesake holds for them to have when I die or when they turn a certain age, that's going to allow them to have a better life than me and not have to struggle the way that I had to struggle, no problem. I will bring a child into this world. But children are not babies. They're not babies forever. They're a baby for 6 months. You know what I mean? 6 to 9 months. And then before you know it, they're a toddler. They grow up and they become people just like you and me who have to go through things and struggle and this and that and the third. And I feel like it's so unfair and it's selfish to just want to procreate something so that you can give yourself meaning. I told him that to me that's selfish. He's like, no, you're being selfish because you don't want to have kids. And I said, that's not selfish. For me to be selfish would be for me to say, you know what, I want to reproduce myself because I want something that looks just like me, and I want to basically have a plaything, something that's going to keep me feeling like I have a purpose, and I want somebody to be next to me all the time so that I'm not lonely for the next 18 years, and then I'm going to live vicariously through them, and then that's going to make me feel like I had a fulfilled life. And I said, no offense, but to me, unless you have some problem with trying to reproduce, like there's something actually wrong with you as a woman, which mind you, that is something that I deal with. I do have issues with reproduction. I said, unless that is the case, which for most women it's not a big task or a big feat or a big congrats that you gave birth to a child in today's day and age, especially in America. We have the medical field that is so advanced now that it's very rare that a woman dies during childbirth. So reproducing another human being is not a difficult task. Anybody can have a kid from the age of 13 and up. All you gotta do is lay on your back and let somebody come inside you multiple times until the sperm reaches the egg. And most people, it happens the first time or the second time. So, you know, I don't like congratulate people or give people pats on the back because they had a kid unless they were infertile. Because it's like, okay, you had a kid, like anybody can have a kid, you know. But when somebody gets a PhD, I'm like, congratulations. Like, everybody can't get a PhD. You have to be smart, you know. Or like when somebody, you know, starts a business, I'm like, congratulations. Everybody can't start a business because you have to be savvy. You know, those are things that I congratulate people on, but I don't congratulate or I don't put women down because they don't have a child. Like, to me, that's very sexist and that's very caveman mentality. And I feel that that's putting women back into a position that we fought to get out of through women's suffrage and things of that sort. So at the end of this, all I'm saying is this, you know, women should be they should be able to determine their own destiny, and you don't have to necessarily have children in that destiny. Do I like children? Yeah. Do I like being around babies? Of course. Every female likes being around a baby at some point. Every male likes being around a baby at some point. We're human beings. We like being around other humans. But do I feel necessarily that I'm supposed to have another child? No. I'm adopted, for example. My mother didn't birth me, and I feel it's selfish for people to want to reproduce somebody that looks like themselves when there's millions of babies sitting out there just like dogs in a shelter where they can go and adopt a child who's 6 months old who was just born yesterday versus reproducing themselves. Like, why do you have to reproduce yourself to take care of a child when there's all these children out here who need a home? You get what I'm saying? So I can make that same argument that, hey, when people say to me, I'm being selfish because I don't have a kid, I'm like, well, you're being selfish because you didn't adopt any of these kids that don't have anyone, you know? And I do know that at some point in my future, I am going to adopt a child. That's like my lifelong goal of mine, not even a goal, but like a wish, is to adopt a child, because that's not something that just happens because you accidentally got pregnant. That's something that happens as a result of you saving money, getting good credit, having a good clean background and things of that sort, looking for the child, you know, getting to know them. That is something that actually takes a lot harder work, I feel. I mean, obviously carrying a child for 9 months is it's a lot of work and it's a difficult task. I get that. But the actual process of getting pregnant, like, you don't even have anything to do with it. That's nature. Do you get what I'm saying? But I feel like it means so much more. Speaking to how selfish or not unselfish a person is, for someone to love a child that is not their own child. Like, when I see people who are like step parents and stuff like that, like, I applaud them when they actually love their kids, because that's really selfless. But anyway, what I'm saying at the end of this is, don't go up to women and say things to them like they're selfish because they don't have kids, or, you know, there's something wrong with them because they, you know, don't have kids. I said, listen, I'm not married. So no, I don't wake up in the morning and think about having children ever. And I will not think about having children until, one, I had gone through the motions of meeting somebody, falling in love with somebody, getting to know somebody, deciding that I want to plan a future with somebody, getting proposed to, getting married, you know, and then after a few years of like traveling the world together and building our lives together, if he decides that he wants to have a child, or if I decide that I want to have a child, then I'll have a child. That's the one I will think about it. But I will not think about, even the thought will not cross my mind of having a child until I have met somebody and married somebody who I want to reproduce. That is it. So I don't think that makes me selfish. I don't think that's a problem with that. I think women should be empowered to choose to have a child and choose not to have a child. And I think anybody who has a problem with that is pretty much sexist. They're self-loathing sexist. They're living in a, you know, an ancient society that it does not exist anymore. And women, you know, we make just as much money as men. We're the breadwinners now. You know, a lot of us take care of ourselves. We're independent and things like that. So to bring a child in the mix, a lot of times is ignorant. And unless I have somebody that I'm going to raise that child with legally, I'm not thinking about having kids. So you really shouldn't ask me. Okay? And that is my 2 cents for tonight. Take care. I'm going to go enjoy this pizza. Yes.